before getting into the real meat of Callahan's argument, I just wanted to address a point that he makes at the very beginning of his essay, which I think might throw some people off. And that is the point he makes on page 356 in the first column, where he says that he considers euthanasia to be a form of suicide. Now, that might conflict with your understanding of euthanasia and physician assisted suicide. And it seems to even conflict with the way I was describing these two practices in the previous video. Why would Callahan consider active euthanasia to be a form of suicide? I think his reasoning, his thought process is something like this. In both cases, whether it's physician-assisted suicide or active euthanasia, the death of the terminal patient comes as a result of that patient's wishes. In other words, in both cases, the death of the patient is deliberate and intentional and is based on the will of the patient themselves. Okay? In both cases, it is the patient who is ultimately volunteering for their own death. Of course, in the case of PAS, they are causing their own death themselves with their own hands by taking that medication. That was me taking medication. And in active euthanasia, of course, it's the doctor taking their life. But even in active euthanasia, the doctor only kills the patient with the patient's permission, with the patient's volunteering for that death. Hence, even active euthanasia is initiated by the patient themselves. So that's why I think that Callahan considers active euthanasia a form of suicide. Nonetheless, I don't think we should get too hung up on this. I don't think that Callahan's argument hangs on this particular point. I just think it's interesting and I wanted to discuss it for a moment so that it doesn't confuse us or throw us off too much. But let's now move on to the real important aspects of Callahan's argument.